It's 9:47 at night, and you're still typing. The message was already sent an hour ago. 5 words. Simple, harmless. But now you're adding a second paragraph nobody asked for, explaining why you said it, what you meant by it, why it wasn't what it might have sounded like. Your chest is tight, your thumb hovers over send. But psychology says that second paragraph has almost nothing to do with the message you already sent. Because the person you're actually defending yourself to isn't the one who's going to read it. There's someone else in that conversation, someone who's never replied, not once, and never will. And the 5 traits that explain who that is start with the one your brain runs before anyone even opens their mouth. Your brain doesn't wait for a challenge. It builds the defense before the accusation even has a chance to exist. This isn't insecurity in the way people usually mean it. It's not paranoia, either. It's pattern recognition, aimed at a threat that used to be real. Somewhere at some point, an unexplained action actually cost you something, a misread tone, an assumption made without asking. Your brain filed that away as a rule. Never let silence be misinterpreted again. Think about the last time you canceled plans. You didn't just say you couldn't make it, you gave the reason, then a second reason to back it up, then a small apology tucked on the end, just in case. Nobody asked for that much, but some part of you didn't trust that "I can't make it" would survive on its own, so you built a small case file before anyone had asked a single question. Here's what that doesn't explain, though. If this were just about avoiding a misunderstanding, a reply that says, "No worries, all good," should close the file. It doesn't, which means the thing you're actually defending against was never waiting for a response in the first place. You're not defending yourself against a real accusation. You're defending yourself against a possible one, a prosecutor who exists only in your head, who might show up, who might have already judged you. Somewhere in there, a courtroom opened, and it never fully closed. You could get that reassuring text back and still feel the need to add one more clarifying sentence. Not because you don't believe them, because the version of them you're actually defending against isn't the one who replied. Reassurance settles the real conversation. It does nothing to the courtroom, because the courtroom was never listening to the actual person at all. Maybe it's a meeting at work. Your manager nods, says nothing that could remotely be read as criticism. 20 minutes later, you're mentally rehearsing how you'd explain your decision if it ever came up again. It won't come up again. So the prosecutor doesn't check in with reality before scheduling their next appearance, which raises the question neither of the first 2 traits actually answers. If this figure isn't reacting to anything real, where did it come from in the first place? Your brain isn't guessing randomly about what might go wrong. It's running a search through every time being misunderstood actually did go wrong. But here's the detail that matters. It's not the conflict itself that got filed away. It's how unpredictable the outcome was. Maybe it was a parent who read your tone as disrespect one day and let the exact same tone go unnoticed the next. Maybe it was a friend group where staying quiet was fine 9 times and cost you something the 10th. 100 tiny moments where you couldn't tell in advance which version of the reaction you'd get. That's the part your brain actually learned. Not explaining prevents punishment. But there's no way to know ahead of time, so explain every time, just in case. Picture the version of you who once came home late without an explanation ready, and watched a small thing turn into a much bigger conversation than it needed to be. While another time, the exact same silence went completely unnoticed. That inconsistency is what trained you, not the danger itself, the impossibility of predicting it, which means the habit was never really about avoiding punishment. So what is it actually trying to prevent in rooms where nothing has ever gone wrong at all? You send the message. They say nothing back for a while, and somehow their silence starts feeling like a verdict from the courtroom that's been waiting all along. You don't just want to be understood. You feel like you owe an explanation, as if silence itself is a debt that has to be paid off before the conversation can be allowed to end. It isn't about being liked. It's the belief that your intentions are only real once someone else has verified them. That without that verification, the good intention doesn't fully count, no matter how certain you already are of it. Even a good moment isn't safe from this. Hand someone a gift, and before they've opened it, you're already explaining why you chose it, prepaying a debt you're not even sure exists. You already know you didn't mean it the wrong way. You knew that the second the words left your mouth. And yet you'll still circle back an hour later, just to be clear, as if your own knowing isn't valid enough proof. Which means the verification was never really coming from them. So who exactly is supposed to sign off? Because it's not the person on the other end of the message. That much you already know. This isn't happening only in your head. Before you consciously decide to add another sentence, your body has usually already decided for you. Tight chest, shallow breath, a subtle bracing like getting ready to catch something before it drops. That physical state doesn't wait for logic. The extra explanation is often just your mind trying to make sense of a nervous system that already sounded the alarm. Sometimes seconds before you were even aware there was anything to explain. You can be mid-sentence, already explaining something nobody questioned, and only notice the tightness in your chest after the words are already out. By then, the body finished its job, long before your mind caught up. And here's the part that changes everything you just heard. The explanation was never really for them. You weren't adding that second paragraph to convince the person reading it. You were adding it to convince your own nervous system that the room was safe, that this time, nothing was coming. Which means the prosecutor was never a person you were negotiating with, and it was never even a thought you were having. It's a state your body learned to enter before you had language for it. You weren't over-explaining. You were translating a defense your nervous system built before you had the first word for it, using someone else's inbox as the only tool it ever learned for talking itself down. So who was that someone else in the conversation? The one who never replied, not once, and never will. It's the version of you that learned what happened when you didn't explain, still standing in the courtroom where the inconsistency was never resolved, still waiting to find out whether this time is safe. That's who you've been writing the second paragraph for this whole time. You were never someone who talks too much, or apologizes too easily, or can't just let things go. You were someone who learned early and thoroughly that silence could be used against you. So your body built a habit of speaking first, defending first, explaining first, just in case. The danger left a long time ago. The part of you still defending never got the memo. That's not a flaw waiting to be fixed. It's evidence of exactly how much you used to have to protect. You were never broken. You were built differently. Which trait hit closest to home? Drop a number in the comments.